Hello, Internet, and welcome to the Noteless podcast. This is Ishan, and with me today is Jessica Stuart. Jessica, for those who don't know you yet, who are you? What kind of music do you make? And where are you based out of?
I am a Toronto-based musician, although I come from Vancouver originally. I am mainly employed as a guitarist for hire, but I do a lot of different things, and I do that in whatever genre of music I'm hired for. So sometimes people know of my work and hire me for something they've heard me do before, like rock music or jazzy, funky related rhythmic based musics. But sometimes people hire me because they know I'm good at music, and then I just have to do a completely new genre I've never done before on the spot and be very convincing about being an expert at it. So this is the range of things that I do. I'm also a songwriter and composer. The first 10 years of my 17-year music career were focused on my original music project and touring around the world, and I had some success with that. And now I'm doing mostly side person stuff, and I've started producing records for other artists as well, which I'm really enjoying too.
Wow, that's a lot of range. So, how did you first get into music? When did you start? And was guitar the first instrument you started with?
Actually, guitar was not, but I was raised by an incredible musician mother, Wendy Bross Stewart, who actually will be in Toronto soon and will be performing together at a couple nice special events. She's a classical pianist and also a specialist in musical theater. She grew up in New York City at a time when Broadway was like pop music. And so
Mhm.
that is kind of her background. And she did musical theater direction in Vancouver. And she's also an ethnomusicologist, so a specialist in Japanese music, Jewish and Yiddish music, and some West Coast indigenous music. So I had a really amazing influence in my mother, and so I've always been singing and sort of creating music, like making up things and then doing song and dance routines from very young with my older sister, accompanied by my mother. And so my first instrument was violin at age 3,
Okay.
and then piano
Wow.
at age 5. And then when I was living in Japan for a year, when I was in grade 4, I picked up the koto, which is the 13-string Japanese harp.
Mhm.
And I've been singing throughout that. It was only in when I was 14, 15 years old that I picked up guitar. And that was the
Mhm.
first instrument that I sort of like independently of my mother kind of started playing or found interest in. The other ones, she steered the ship on violin and piano. Uh, Koto I was interested in. But anyway, guitar and I have a special relationship because we like chose each other.
That's really wonderful. So, tell me about a little bit more about how you learned these instruments. Was it like formal education? Was your mom basically training you for it, or was it self-learning? And then one specific question is, how was learning the Kyoto? I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
There is a city in Japan called Kyoto, but the
Kyoto,
instrument has no Y. It's a koto.
Koto. Okay,
Yeah,
so how is
perfect.
the
That was perfect
Koto?
pronunciation.
Okay. So how is a koto different from a guitar or a violin? It's since all three are, stringed instruments.
Right. So a koto has 13 strings and it is tuned to a scale. So it's like a harp where each string is one pitch. With a
Hmm.
koto, you can alter them by pushing down behind the bridge, and then that makes the string pitch go up. But
Okay.
aside from that, it's tuned to a scale. So you have a finite number of options that you can do, and it's kind of like a harp. So both violin and guitar, you're pressing down on a fretboard or a fingerboard in order to alter the pitch, and you have many different choices of what pitch one string can be. From
Okay.
open, it's the lowest, and then you can go all the way up. With a guitar, there's frets, so you would go up
Yeah.
chromatically or in semitones, to
Hmm.
be technical about it. With violin, even though you go up in semitones, it also there's no frets, so you can play every note in between. So you can go do, right? Whereas with guitar, you're like da 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 da. Like you can't get all the notes in between
Okay.
because there's
Yeah.
frets. So and then whereas with koto, it's just one note per string with one alteration possibility. Yeah.
So like each note is more pronounced, it's more discrete rather than the violin, which is more continuous kind of a flow.
Sort of, but more that the violin only has four strings, and you get all
Mhm.
the notes that you want by pressing down on the string and shortening the string to get a higher pitch, right? When you,
Mhm.
with your bow or with your fingers, if you're doing pizzicato or whatever. And with a guitar, it's the same. You have six strings, and then you get like so many options. There could be 22 frets on a guitar, so you have 22 semitones from your original pitch. With a koto, each string is one note,
Mhm.
so it's tuned to a scale.
Okay.
So you're plucking each multiple strings to get a chord or to get a melody.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm a drummer. I'm trying to make sense of this as we go, but I think I'm definitely starting to get it.
Okay.
So when was your first time on stage? How did it
Oh,
come together? Or what was your
oh.
first like music productional experience? Either one, whatever you're
Hmm.
comfortable answering.
I uh, phew. I don't really know because like I said, I was doing song and dance routines, led by my mom. My
Hmm.
older sister and I, we'd sing, and there'd be little choreography, and uh, we'd perform in our living room. Like, can you imagine like a little 2 and 5-year-old like
Home
doing a
talent
song and
concert.
dance thing,
Yeah.
like when you go to your friend's house and their kids do like a proper little concert for you, so that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But I'm sure there was like, I don't know that I remember my first concert. I've sort of just been performing for a really long time. So I don't know that I remember my first one. Some notable ones were like in high school when I had the lead in the musical Fiddler on the Roof,
Hmm.
as the Mother Golda, and that performance there, or maybe my first punk rock band concert, which would be like my first band that I put together.
Hmm.
Um, so that would be in Vancouver in the punk rock scene back in my teenage
That's really
days,
interesting.
something like
Yeah.
that. So those, I remember that was actually at like a weird community center, and there was like, it was like five bands on the bill type thing.
Yeah.
And I remember we were so nervous. My lead singer, he like passed out before the show because he was
Stage
like so
fright.
nervous. Well,
Yeah.
also he was diabetic, so I think there
Oh.
was like, he was like maybe hadn't eaten enough or something, but like
Mhm.
I think it was exacerbated by being like nervous about the performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember those. And then I remember my first kind of like semi-professional experience before I was a professional musician, though. That was when, right after high school, the summer after high school, I was under my mother in the orchestra pit now at a professional production in downtown Vancouver in Stanley Park of Fiddler on the Roof again, which had just happened at my
Nice.
school, and I was on stage. But this one, I was in the orchestra pit for the first time. I was the youngest person by many years because my
Wow.
mom hired me. She knew I had the
Okay.
potential, even though I hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
And so I was newish to guitar, my first time reading guitar music,
Mhm.
and I had to learn mandolin, and I didn't know mandolin. And so what I did was I realized that the strings on a mandolin were the opposite direction of the low four strings on the guitar. And so I
Yeah.
flipped all the chords I knew backwards. And that
Okay.
was my starting point for learning mandolin.
And
Yeah.
is that when you like struck with the guitar? Like, because I guess that's your first time performing the guitar professionally in an actual like setting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I was into it because of the punk rock thing. I think I liked the like rock
Okay.
and roll release of guitar and the way that that instrument had so much versatility in so many different styles of music.
Mhm.
I could rock out, I could be angry and express my angst or my glee, or I could be really proper and like do, play musical theater, or I could be funky and make people dance. And so I think I really liked the range of what guitar could do. So
Mhm.
I sort of I chose, we had chosen each other, as I said already at that point.
Yeah.
So, but I think I was discovering all the things I could do with guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, no, first of all, shout out to mandolin. That's like, I feel I haven't really heard that instrument's name since like in sixth grade, like my high school orchestra. And then I wanted to ask you, so since you've played in a sort of punk rock band at this point in your
Yeah.
journey, and also like, you've done performances, etc. So how do you differentiate between, disciplined music practices such as,
Right.
orchestra versus more freeing, more expressionist practices like having your own punk rock band, and like how does the entire experience of like putting up a song together, putting up anything in those categories differ by each other?
Well, even though I think if I had to only choose one, learning by ear is what I would choose. But
Mhm.
also reading music is an amazing thing, because say with like doing a musical theater production, this is music that like many, many people have played, like thousands of different orchestras and different
Right.
productions have been done of, or more than thousands. And m- simply by having designated a place on a staff that a dot and a line go, then by magic, I can produce the sounds and this melody that I've never heard before by looking at this music. So I think that's like kind of magical. But then also more
Yeah.
magical is when you have an ear and you have, you listen, you really have to listen to what's going on when you don't have music, and it makes a different kind of interaction. You have to
Mhm.
sort of anticipate where things are going. So also improvising and being more free form has like is really important too. Again, if
Yeah.
I had to choose one, I think that going with your ear is the most important, because to have
Yeah.
the least tools and be able to still accomplish music and making a strong feeling, or evoking a feeling in people, I think
Mhm.
that's more important in the end than doing something like perfectly and reproduced exactly. Although it is, that is magical too. I think like ideally both are like amazing sides of the musical coin that you can tap
Right.
into. Yeah.
Right, completely agree. No, so since you dabble with both, and you have such a range of different things you're doing, you have
Hmm.
like your cover band, Radiohead tribute band, sorry,
Hmm.
and then you have your own, open mic going on. You have,
Yep.
you're a guitarist for hire. How do
Yep.
you really differentiate between practice time and live like performance time?
Yep.
And does music theory or by ear kind of sprinkle it between these gaps? Like
Hmm.
do you struggle to keep up with music theory practice in general, among so many things, or how do you manage it?
Well, that's a good question. When I first moved to Toronto from the West Coast to do music for my job, I thought I was like kind of a big fish in a small pond when I was out west. And then I moved out here and I was like, whoa, everyone kind of is like at a higher level in general. Not to discredit West Coast musicians. It's a thing
Hmm.
about the larger the concentration of skilled people, or people assembling, the higher the community's skill level rises,
Right.
because we all sort of lift each
Uplift each
other.
other. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I realized that I needed some more work to do. I had some more work to do personally as a guitar player and as a musician. Well,
Hmm.
I always had an aptitude as a musician. I had a strong musical strength anyway, and that fueled my ability to learn all these different instruments. But I realized if I wanted to do guitar at the level that I wanted, I had some work to do. So
Hmm.
at that stage, I was doing independent practice, and I motivated myself by like giving myself a sticker on the calendar on a day that I practiced. And at first, I had very unhealthy practice methods. It was
Hmm.
mostly self-directed. I took a few lessons with jazz people, very few lessons, but I
Right.
knew like once they sort of pointed me in the direction of things I could learn, I knew how to then approach it myself. But as I said, it was unhealthy practices in the beginning. I felt very disappointed with myself that
Hmm.
I had thought I was at a certain level, and then I realized I was at a lower level. But
Yeah.
soon, within 6 to 9 months, so there was a lot of tears involved in practicing in those days. It was kind of an unpleasant process.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, in 6 to 9 months or so, I had a sort of epiphany about realizing that thinking poorly of yourself is also an expression of ego. And I
Okay.
used to think
Yeah.
that ego was thinking you're better than everyone else.
Yeah.
But to
Hmm.
think that you are anything other than you are is ego.
Is ego. Yeah.
We are, in the creative world, it's not like you reach a level of aptitude in music and then you never are less than that ever. There are
That is
mistakes. We're
true.
human beings. We're not machines. We're going to
Hmm.
make mistakes. And on different days with less or more sleep, or more or less things going on in your personal life, or
Hmm.
more or less time to warm up, you might be faster at playing than on another day. Like your
100%.
your ceiling, you can go to a higher BPM practicing scales, but on another day it might be less. And then
Yeah.
on another day you might write better songs. On another day your reading of sheet music might be faster.
Mhm.
On
Yeah.
another day you might be able to improvise better.
Uh-huh.
So all of these things, as soon as I sort of like got the healthy perspective on that, there's so many different components to being a wonderful musician and to doing music and different motivations. And so what I started realizing was that I'm going to give this, I'm going to practice scales with and speed and see how far I can go. And if I hit a ceiling lower than my best,
Usual.
then
Yeah.
I'm going to try a few more times to break through. And if it doesn't
Mhm.
happen, I'm going to say, that's what I got today. I'm moving
Yeah.
on to the next thing. I'm going to do
Mhm.
some reading instead, or I'm going to do some songwriting instead, or I'm going to work on improvising instead. And so
Yeah.
it's never, not to give up immediately, but to give a few shots, but healthily understand that we are, it's like a sound wave. There's a top
Yeah.
and a bottom to our skill level, and presumably that goes up over time, the whole thing. So your
Mhm.
best and your worst are both raising, right? But it's not
Yeah.
like you never go like below your
You're
best
not always at your
again.
maxima or at
Yeah, you
minima.
can't
Yeah.
be. You
Yeah.
can't be, right? And
Yeah.
so this is once I developed that healthy attitude, I was able to, first of all, like direct myself towards practicing better. And
Yeah.
then I have sort of now, it's not like I'm, um, there's always more to grow. However, at
Mhm.
this point, it's been enough years since then that I don't really practice just for practice sake for the guitar anymore. What I do is I practice for shows and I practice for new bands and I practice for new
Rehearsals.
projects. Well,
Mhm.
not just with them, but on my own. Like
Right.
so I'll practice for specific things, and in doing so, I'll learn new skills. And the nice thing about being, say, a guitarist for hire at this stage versus earlier in my career when I would still do that, but less easily
Yeah.
and less a proportion of my
Mhm.
living, is that now my musical knowledge is so much greater and my fluency of the guitar is so much more that I can, like the learning of music, I basically make a chart and it's learned. Like I almost don't have to practice it anymore. It's like, unless
Yeah.
it's something, a new skill.
Mhm.
And so it's really amazing to be able to very quickly, like I've had to learn 65 songs in 4 days for two projects, like 30
Wow.
something a piece.
Yeah.
And if I tried to do that early in my career, I would have been a mess and had a panic attack and whatever. And that stuff has happened before, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not that I never have panic
Right.
attacks now. That
Yeah.
happens occasionally,
Nothing to laugh
but
about.
not. But yeah, but now I just am systematic. I've done it so many times. I understand my capacity, and I know that
Mhm.
my recall on stage, even under pressure, is really good. So
Really
I
good.
can relax, and I know that the worst I've ever done on stage is still very good. And
Yeah.
so I have now history of having done it so many times successfully and succeeded in the most difficult of scenarios too,
Yeah. It
that I
naturally
can
comes to you now.
relax. I can
Yeah.
relax a little bit because
Yeah.
I have confidence in my ability to perform under pressure.
Exactly.
So,
No, I think like there's several very important insights that you dropped there. First one is like the ego abandonment of like your
yes.
best practice versus worst practice. It
Yeah.
is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It's not even a marathon, it's a dance, to be honest, right?
True.
Like your music is there to have fun. Sure, you wanna, like get ahead of yourself and etc. etc. But as you said, there is a maxima and a minima to every practice day. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just find joy in like, the maximas of some aspects and the minimas of some aspect.
Yeah.
And to quote one of my cognitive science professors, I don't know why I'm remembering this right now,
Cool. Like
but
it.
it kind of brings like when you're in practice and then you know that there's slightly better you can do as what you're doing right now, and the gap between what you can do and what you're doing isn't that big, and that's when you truly reach that flow state that you
Mhm.
you kind of push yourself, but it's also not like to the point of exhaustion or to the point of like over expectation. So
Yeah.
that's something that's really really important for the musical practice journey, I believe. And
Mhm.
then third thing you mentioned was, with practice and just compounding all these years, you
Yeah.
you can now ramp up so much within such a short time, and
Yeah.
it to anybody else that may seem like really really exhausting, and like for me for sure it's overwhelming. 65 songs in like 2 days or 4 hours, that's like
For 4 days.
insane.
4 days.
four
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
yeah, so that's like I can't even do it in 65 days. So it's
Probably
it's
you
too
could,
much.
but
Yeah, I mean, it's one song a day. And, a song is like full 3 minutes. 3 minutes sounds less, but it's a big time. So yeah, I think like kudos to you. So
Thanks.
to go more towards the musical process of things,
Hmm.
when you first started, I know like this is not a very specific project based question,
Yeah,
but when you first started producing music, let's say,
sure.
for your downloading sorry, for your uploaded songs and like studio recorded songs,
Okay.
how much time did it used to take from concept to launch then? How much time has reduced now? And what is like the general process, or like, what's the general timeline behind what goes into a song, like from it coming to you as an idea to actually making it on to the field? Yeah.
Well, there's like, there's personal life stuff wound into this here because I
Mhm.
used to be, like I said, the first 10 years of my career were focused on my original music projects. And then that would
Right.
be, I would write songs like I'm a very deadline driven person, as many creatives are. So there'll be
Okay.
ideas that I'm stockpiling ongoingly throughout. Like most of the time, it's like when something really annoying is happening to record, to be able to record, you, you're in a bad, not the best circumstance to be able to capture the idea. Like you're on a crowded bus, or
Yeah.
you're trying to sleep and then you have an idea and then you have to get out of bed, or you're in the shower and you're like, I'm wet, I can't press
Yeah.
the buttons on my phone for the voice
Yeah.
memo
And it's
or
going
grab my
away.
guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it often happens then, but I make sure to honor those moments because
Mhm.
those inspired moments, those are the ones that are very hard to manufacture, like the actual inspiration little cells. And so that could
Right.
be like a rhythmic thing, that could be a little melody, that could be um, a hook, that could be a chord progression. It could be a lot of different things. For me, it's usually in those realms of rhythm or music as opposed
Mhm.
to lyric, but occasionally lyrical too. So
Right.
just capture those. And then for me, um, in the beginning, I would take longer to write a song, and then I would have the deadline of the songwrite be when a rehearsal was happening with my trio. So I'd be writing for my trio. Maybe we'd
Mhm.
be going off on a tour soon, or maybe we'd have a concert. But I loved to have 2 to 4 new songs before every tour, because I found that I write the song, and sometimes I indicate the type of bass thing or the type of drum feels that I wanted. Other times I said, I'm not quite sure what I want. Let's see what you guys have.
Mhm.
And we'd kind of work it through together. But then the song is able to take on a life of its own once it's
Yeah.
on the road. When you repeat it, 2 weeks in a row, 12 shows or something like that, then kind of yourself gets like, it is of me, I get that, but you kind of get to step back and and the song gets to um, accumulate its own objective state.
Right. Like you can
So
zoom out and like tweak it around.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. And so
Hmm.
then it kind of takes on its own feeling and life. And then I would book recording sessions after a tour often,
Hmm.
right? Because then you're fresh off the road. You have this comfortability, the structure and the parts that are the inflexible, but you also
Yeah.
understand where there's room for flexibility. Even though the music I write has a pop sensibility about it, it's not like it doesn't get performed identically every single time. There is variation in the manner in which it's being played, because that part of actually like being in the moment with music and collaborating with other people is important to me, to my values as a music creator. So that's what used to happen. And then I would make albums, and then those albums would sell. I'd sell them. I had a top 40 single in Japan from my second record, and got to tour Japan a bunch of times, and China and Australia, and, do some showcases in Germany and do all this
That's
different
insane.
stuff, which is
Wow.
wonderful. But now things are different. I started in like, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago now. I started a
Hmm.
music series, a songwriter series called JS Presents at the Transact Club, which is known for giving residencies to artists in order for creative and other collaborative purposes.
Hmm.
And so I started it then. And because one of my other values as a musician is that music is worth something. And even though
Hmm.
culture might have a problem paying properly for some
Right. For
styles
sure.
of music, it's actually weirdly genre based. Like, can you imagine a classical musician not making a good wage. Like they get
No.
paid well every time, but somehow if you're
Yeah.
creating the music and you're a singer songwriter, you're like supposed to work for free or something, which I
Yeah.
think is like a big fallacy. So I had this series where I'd book another songwriter and myself, and in order for us to properly be able to get paid amongst something which wasn't for the money, but not
Uh-huh.
discarding that element, I said, let's do it as pared down as possible, the smallest group possible, so there's the fewest people to pay, ideally just one songwriter at accompanying themselves. So that's what I started doing for myself. Instead of writing for my trio, I
Uh-huh.
started writing for presentation solo, and I made it a rule that both myself and the artists that I book have to world premiere one song minimum that's never been presented in public. And so again, giving myself a deadline because I'm deadline driven.
Yeah.
So I
Nice.
wanted to have a monthly deadline that for presentation of music. So
Mhm.
I started doing that, and therefore I started writing for solo. So my songwriting really changed, and then the pandemic happened shortly after that. And then no one was touring. There was no shows. I wasn't playing with people hardly at all. And then a personal thing happened in my family where my father got Alzheimer's, and I became the leader of my family, and the needs of my family started becoming larger than other things in my life. So as the
Mhm.
pandemic went away and my career came back, I did not have any time to focus on my own pursuits, right? I just
Right.
needed to make my living with music and enjoy
Mhm.
that and take care of my family. And that's what it was. So I actually have done zero recording since then. However, now I might be about to record something in this month. So this will be my first time in 5 years since my dad's diagnosis that I will be able to do this for myself. But in the
Uh-huh.
meantime, I have like 60 unrecorded songs from my music series. And now that I've been doing this for a long time, you asked about my process.
Uh-huh.
I write the song the day before every time.
Okay. Wow.
Sometimes it takes
That's
2 hours. Sometimes it takes 35 minutes. That's only happened once. 2 hours is short. And sometimes it will take 8 hours. I
okay.
allocate myself the full day. I take one of those ideas that I put onto a
Yeah.
voice memo before, or some new idea, and then I sort of make
Expand.
that into,
Mhm.
I tease that out into a song.
Uh-huh.
And then I present it the following day. And sometimes I don't know if it's any good or not. I just have to please myself enough, like that I'm not embarrassed to present it. That's basically my rule is that. But because I'm not doing it for a project in particular or anything in particular, it's just a songwriting deadline. It's really opened me up creatively. And whereas I used to write just for my trio and in the style that my band that I was touring with was playing. And now I write all sorts of things. And some of the songs are like, funny and quirky, and other songs are like make you cry and feel things, and other songs are like would be good for the trio, and other songs would be good for an a cappella group. Like who
Uh-huh.
knows, like the world of possibilities is out there, right?
Yeah, and music itself is such a collaborative, field in general that every new song you do can just be like a completely new different thing
Yeah,
based on just like what you've learned so far, and it keeps on going. No, but it's
yeah.
really, really inspiring that you've been able to continue with so many projects while you're going through a tough time. And not just that, I personally feel that even not just like your own music production, you're still you're still doing so much for the Toronto music scene, for the Canadian music
Thank you.
scene. You're
Thank you.
helping musicians collaborate. So
Hmm.
and like you mentioned, like you make sure that even though music isn't or performances are not like materialistically driven, they still respect the artists enough to get them the rightful fair amount of money that they
Yes,
definitely should
yes,
deserve, right? So
yes,
I just
yes.
want to pick your thoughts on that a little bit, because I feel
Hmm.
YouTube culture, TikTok culture
Yep.
has sort of made people of the opinion that the arts and music are just like free, free
Yeah,
game, and like you're
yeah.
just by giving you a stage, they're giving you doing you a whole favor, and they don't
Right,
even
right,
understand the amount of
right.
effort, practice, talent, the collaboration,
Hmm.
the band drum and like whatnot, like that goes
Yes.
behind it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just wanted, yeah, your 2 cents on that.
Wow. There's so much there. There's so much there I could possibly talk about, but where do I start? Well, okay. I noticed, so during the pandemic, I remember seeing this survey that came out like maybe a year into the pandemic and was talking about what the population during the pandemic thinks is the most valuable and most important jobs, and what the least important jobs were. The most
Mhm.
important jobs were like, for first responders and doctors and nurses and like all that stuff, obviously, which is relevant to, and scientists and researchers and like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Got that. We were in the middle of a pandemic. But
Yeah.
on the list of least important stuff, they had at the top was like musician or arts. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because what was everyone doing during the pandemic? How are they staying alive? They were listening to music. They were
Listening.
watching film, which are creative things. They were reading books. They were,
They were
doing
making
art.
parodies of songs. They were buying MIDI keyboards and like doing their
Right.
DJ controller.
So
Yeah.
so people think that it was the least important, but I imagined, what if our lives had music and the arts stripped away? So no film, no writing, no visual art, no soundtrack of anything. We would have all gone insane. Like we would have not been okay as a culture. And so there's this weird um there's this weird kind of
Misprioritization. Yeah.
yeah, but not just that, but a misperception. I have been talking recently with musicians about how the general public, because they have all heard music and because they like music, people have the understanding that music, therefore, should, because there's pleasure associated with it, does not need to be remunerated. Like,
Mhm.
but the thing is that what they don't realize is that, the part that everyone sees of my job is
Mhm.
me being on stage. And that
Right.
part is the one of the really funnest parts of it.
Yeah.
What they don't see is that in order to get to that stage, I had to, not just the practicing and the crying, like what I told you when I was first, all the stages early in my career, not just
Yeah.
that, but also the physical weight of having an instrument and the repetitive stress that
Oh
I
my
have on my
God.
shoulder, which causes me
Yes.
like when my arms is different, and
And the stage
the hauling
lights.
the hauling
Yeah.
of gear up from my stupid apartment loadout area into an Uber who like the first 3 Ubers, when they see my gear, drive away, and then I'm going to be late for the gig, and then I have
Yeah.
to wait again, and then I'm waiting in the cold, and then loading up the stairs and not knowing where the place is, and then also the stupid online administrative, like the advertising of the gigs. Oh, and now we have to be making a graphic design for a poster. Oh, and now we have to make it 4 different shapes because
Yeah.
the social media. And
Yeah.
now I have to go talk to the public and tell them about my show, and I
Yeah.
have to show them how
promote it.
excited I am, when
Yeah.
really I'm like super stressed because I just want to be playing the music. And so
Yeah.
all of that part, and then I have to put on stage clothes, and then I have to do this and that, and then I have to, so there's a lot
It all adds up.
beside,
Yeah.
and then I have to negotiate contracts, and then I have
Oh my
to
God.
do the logistics of being on tour, and then I have to, submit all of my songs to SOCAN so that I get paid royalties, and then I have to sign up the songs that I recorded to Actra Rex so that I get
Yeah.
paid the royalties on that. So those parts, the other parts there, or the band drama, or the whatever, those parts are not fun.
Yep.
And so people see the job and they say there is just pleasure and joy associated
Yes.
with your job. They
Yep.
think they know,
Yeah.
or they come up and
They
they
think
say,
you're just having fun. Why get
yeah,
paid for that? But you're
or
your own admin team. You're your own marketing team. You're your own
yes,
HR team. Yeah.
yes,
Sorry. Go ahead.
every person, every single job in existence
Mhm.
has the negative side, the part that we don't like, right? And so music too, it's just that part happens behind the scenes. People don't
Yeah.
see that part, right? And even just arriving at the venue, when I play a gig with Classic Albums Live, we arrive, our call time is 2 p.m. to the venue for an 8 p.m. show, right?
Mhm.
So people are like, you go play the show, it's fun. And it's not like it's unpleasant, but what I mean is we actually don't finish the show until 10, and then we have to tear down. So that's actually, we have to have left the house wherever we are like an
Like
hour
six.
plus in
Yeah.
advance or
Hmm.
however much. And then we don't get home until a full 8.5 hour shift later. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, you just go play a show and it's whatever. But no, I'm actually working too. So,
Hmm.
but people think they know. And then people think they see you play music and they make assumptions about you. And then they tell you, oh, you know what you should do? You should go
Yeah.
play jazz festivals in Europe. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what a great
Oh,
idea.
that's
Let me
I
just
never
wave
thought
my
about that.
I'm going to
Yeah.
wave my
Sure.
magic wand and I'm going to say jazz
Yeah.
festivals in Europe. Boom. And then I'm going to
Yeah.
go, great
Flights
idea.
booked.
Thanks. Never
Yeah.
thought of that before. Thanks for that. Yeah.
No, that's like you couldn't have put it in a better way. But yeah, going off on a more like positive thing. So what are some new projects that you're working on that are coming soon that you want to shout out, and like what are you excited about in the coming year, in this
Well,
coming year?
may I ask when this episode is going to be aired so I can answer the question about things that are forthcoming?
Literally, literally like within 2 days maximum, I'll
Okay,
post it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So like the regular awesome things that I am a part of are newly Classic Albums Live doing Fleetwood Mac Rumors. I play the dobro resonator guitar and slide, lots of acoustic finger picking stuff and the Nashville high strung guitar. And that show, everyone in that band is quite incredible. And those shows are
Hmm.
big and in theaters and magical and wonderful. I've been playing with Idiotech, the Radiohead tribute for a
Yes.
very long time. And that band is a huge, big Radiohead party. Every
Hmm.
note for note, every exact bleep and bloop in the right place. And that band, we all are really good friends, love each other, been playing together for super long time. And now the like Radiohead's having a new moment again. So like even younger people than what our audience used to be are starting to come out. So that's really fun. We got some stuff in Hamilton in May. We have
Yeah.
London, Ontario in June, and Guelph, Ontario in later June. So those things are coming up with Idiotech for Radiohead fans. Those are
Mhm.
well worth going to. That show's amazing. I've got original stuff. May 23rd, I play with my trio at Black Swan on the Danforth. We don't play all the time, but we're playing
Mhm.
then. It's going to be a multi-setter, so I'm going to be doing a lot of wanky, awesome guitar things. Mostly my original tunes, but also some really fun covers. But the one I want to really talk about, which is really special and happens almost never, the last time it happened was 4 years ago in Toronto, and the first time in Toronto, is this project called the Joan Becco Legacy Project. And I
Mhm.
got to co-music direct that with my mother, Wendy Bross Stewart, which was really special. Joan Becco is a totally uncelebrated genius composer and piano player who was one of the matriarchs of my family. She passed on in 2021. And her music was never recorded during her lifetime. She was
Mhm.
worked with a lot of famous people, like came up with Carol Burnett. They moved to New York together and she was a part of that. But she's involved with sort of like classical sacred music from the Jewish liturgy, but also musical theater. So that project includes a documentary called Unsung, the Joan Becco story, to tell why she didn't become better known and
Mhm.
or come up with some answer. And I actually co-directed the film as well by
That's really
chance,
nice.
and with Carlos Coronado, who's videographer. And so we're doing the debut movie theater screening of Unsung at the Review Cinema on
Okay.
Sunday, May 17th, 12:30 to 2:30, and it includes live performance accompanied by my mother on piano, myself
Mhm.
singing, Juno-nominated Alex Samaras singing, and Whitney Ross Barris, and
Mhm.
some surprises. And then there will be, after the screening of the 30-minute film, there will be a Q&A with the directors, and then there's going to be a reception after that. So that's a really special one, and it's a suggested $20 ticket, which is quite amazing for a film
Yeah.
screening and concert and
You're getting a
Q&A
lot
and
out of it.
reception. So
Mhm.
that's on Sunday, May 17th, and that one's incredibly important and will not be happening often. My mom has flown in from Vancouver for it. So
That's really
yeah,
nice.
proper movie theater
Um,
screening. So yeah.
Listeners, I will link Jessica's profile, and you can check out her link tree. It has a link to every single event she just mentioned. Jessica, thank you so much for sharing your musical journey with us and your many different projects. Listeners, I highly recommend checking out all of her work. Please download her songs and stream them. Please check out the events that she mentioned. Please try to show up in person if you can. Jessica also runs an open mic at Rose and Crown near Yonge and Eglinton every Tuesday night. So any amateur musicians who want to get up there and just have a chat with her about the music scene, you can find her on every Tuesday night at Rose and Crown, Young and Eglinton. Jessica, before we close out the podcast, is there anything else you want to shout out or share with your listeners?
Well, I would say that there is such a wealth of incredible world-class music and creatives, not just musicians, in Toronto. And people often don't realize until people have become famous elsewhere, and then they claim them as being local. But you have an opportunity right now. There's one amazing way to find great music. It's not just jazz, but it's called Jazz in Toronto, is one of the best live music listings and shows a lot of small shows. So for like $10 to $20, you can go see these world-class musicians performing in small, intimate venues, and it's really special. Don't wait till they go get big and famous and have like an $85 ticket or $150 ticket when they come back. Go see them now. And also, just like music is, healing and wonderful, helps people come together. And so I hope that people pursue their creative stuff, even if it's not for professional reasons. There's a huge benefit to it, and it helps people become more empathic and understand each other better. By playing music, you have to listen and be anticipating what people are doing. And I think the world would be a better place if we all had more mandatory music. So that's
Yeah.
what I would say. And then also, yeah, my Instagram handle is Jessica Stuart Music, STUART. So I kind of funnel everything through my Instagram that I'm doing from all the different projects. So you'll be able to see what's up there. So anyway, yeah, thank you so much for having me. And also, just my open mic is every other Tuesday, but you can go check
Every
it
other
out on my Instagram. But I'm sure the Rose and Crown won't mind having you there on every Tuesday,
Every
but you just
Tuesday.
might not
Yeah.
be able to play music on every other Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the profile and the link tree is mentioned in the captions below. Jessica, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
Everybody, we'll see you next time. This is the Noteless podcast, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.